welcome to Livewire Review. I'm driving a 2023 Tesla Model X long range with all-wheel drive. Well, let's get into it. So to start off, this vehicle does not use a shifter. It does have a full steering wheel here, and it still feels pretty normal. You have two ways you can put the vehicle in drive. There are these buttons down at the bottom, which are just touch-sensitive buttons. You have to press them pretty hard to put it in drive or reverse. You can also grab the screen here, and you can just drag the car forward or back to change your direction. So this is quite the big car, and as we know, it's fairly pricey. It's over 100K here in Canada. But what you get with this vehicle is incredible. Now, I'm still getting used to the turn signals here on the steering wheel, but I'm sure I'll get used to that fairly quickly. So I put this in insane acceleration mode. Let's see if we get a chance to try this out. Right now, I'm following a car at 37 kilometers an hour. So now to start off with, as we know, the Model X has a very interesting windshield to it. There is no bar across the front here. It is just a wide open windshield. It's fairly interesting because they actually hide your sunshades right here, and then you can bring them down and you can adjust where they go. Not quite used to that yet, but it is handy to know that that's there. Now, in Tesla's normal fashion, they actually do put a proper amount of tinting on this windshield, so it is not distracting at all, even with the sun directly in my eyes right now. So first thing I wanted to mention in here is the air suspension. Now, I drive a Model 3 as my personal car. This one uses air suspension at all four corners, and you can adjust the ride height. It also has adaptable dampers, which you can put in sport mode or regular mode. And it uses the cameras around the vehicle in order to read what's around you and change how the suspension reacts to the road. Now, once again, that turn signal's thrown me off again, but I did figure it out. Okay, let's try out this acceleration for a second here. Oh, that is unreal. I love the acceleration in Teslas. It is amazing. And you don't need any synthesized sounds in this car. You can just hear the electric motors as they go up to speed. So they really have modernized the Model X over the years. They have a tilting screen in here. They've updated the materials. They have like a dark looking wood across the dashboard here, and they've made it look fairly similar across the board. We have our two wireless chargers here in the middle. We have a very nice glove box here in the middle with the dark wood theme continuing through the cabin. And what's neat about the Model X that you don't get with the Model S and the other vehicles they have self-presenting doors. So when you push on the door handle, it doesn't present itself. The door actually opens for you. Now, there is a stark contrast between Tesla and other automakers. Now, I don't hear this in my own vehicle, but I can hear this here in the Model X, is I can actually hear the seats creaking behind me. So, as we know, Teslas don't have the same build quality as most of your normal OEMs, but the technology you get in these cars is incredible. You can tow a trailer with a Model X. It has all-wheel drive. I believe you can get 6 or 7 seats. I'm going to double check on the 7 seat, but what I'm driving right now has 6 captain's chairs. So this is one of your only choices on the market if you wanted to go long range, across the country, tow a trailer, and take lots of people with you. There is a nice advantage in this car with the adaptable height. It means that any terrain you're on, you'll be able to adapt to it. If you're going to drive this across a farmer's field, you put it in the highest mode. If you want the best performance possible, you can put it in a sport mode. There's a couple different modes of acceleration. We have sport, and right now I'm in insane mode because I like to go fast. And it does, this car is so much fun. It's one of the fastest cars I've ever driven. And a vehicle that's pushing 6,000 pounds, I'm super impressed. Another nice thing about adaptable dampers is it actually controls the weight of this vehicle. For something that's so heavy, it drives so much like a sports car. Oh, that acceleration just never gets old. I'd probably go through a set of tires every month in this thing. Now, Tesla's made some changes to this vehicle over the years, but not in the areas that you can see. Yes, we can see that the dashboard is up to date and the interior looks nicer, and they have added heated and cooled seats. They haven't had cooled seats in the past, so it's nice to see that they're joining other OEM automakers with that. Some of the things that you don't see is what's actually under the hood. I'll quote it right there, because it's not under the hood. It's all the little things. Like, for example, in the door handles. Door handles used to have all these little extra parts. And what they do now is it's just a single button on the door in the Model X, but in the Model S, it's using one single motor and I believe a Hall effect sensor. So there's so much less complexity in these vehicles nowadays. And when you take complex parts out of the equation, you get a more reliable vehicle. Now, I drove a Model X that my friend owned, and they were asking about a certain noise they had. It was about a 5-year-old vehicle, and I think it was out of warranty. At least the basic warranty, that is. And the only repair they really had to do was a wheel bearing. And I was quite surprised to find out you can change a wheel bearing in this car for about $600. Now, I've worked in the auto parts industry. A high quality bearing can cost about $350 to $400, and I believe the labor to change it was about $200 because they're about a $200 door rate at Tesla. I believe $600 is a fairly reasonable rate for a car of this size and its cost. So the maintenance cost of this car should be pretty comparable to most other vehicles in this category. So I'm going to push it in the corners here, and this thing actually corners fairly flat because of those adaptive dampers. It takes the weight of the vehicle and it just pumps it up on one side, changes the damping so that when you go around, it actually keeps the car fairly flat, which again, it's around 6,000 pounds for this car. That's just incredible. So some of the controls in this car will take a while to get used to, but the fact is you get to use the Tesla supercharger network across the country, so it means planning your trip is going to be super easy. They use voice commands for all the things you can't find. They have the normal Tesla layout, so if you're familiar with a Tesla, you should be able to navigate around this vehicle fairly well. I like that they've made it standard across the board, this screen system, so I can find my controls very easily. So some of the controls in this car are in a totally different spot than I'm used to. The horn is actually a button over here. It's not just your center press in the middle of the steering wheel, so that would take some getting used to. It's a tiny spot you have to find. And you have your cruise control is set here, but that's actually just the scroll wheels like it is in every other Tesla product. You press the button down to set your cruise control at the speed that you want it, and then you can lower it here. And then you cancel it exactly the same way. You just press the button to cancel. Now, I really can't get over the fact that these rear seats are creaking, but that's because the Model X is a fairly complex vehicle. It has these gull wing doors and motors and sensors, and it's just a big vehicle overall. These seats, I don't understand why they creak so much, but it is something you're going to have to live with if you drive a Model X. I thought this windshield would throw me off, but I have to say I'm already used to it, and like I said before, the tinting on it is incredible. I wish sunroofs in regular cars would actually come with this amount of tint on them, and then I wouldn't be bothered by the amount of sunshine that comes into my eyes every time I open it. In these cars, I've never had an issue with the sunshine in my face. I know other people have and they put up sunshades, but for me, I've never had an issue with it. And I have to say the radio in this car is actually even higher quality than what's in my Model 3. And I have the high quality audio system in my car. The subwoofer in this one is even more clear, and the tweeters and everything works together so beautifully. Yeah, the accelerator pedal is smooth, just what I would expect. It's very, very well programmed for its driving experience. And as I go tight into this corner here, now, the only problem I'm finding with not having a turn signal stock is while the steering wheel was turned, I wasn't able to use my turn signal to go into this lane. So that is a little bit awkward. I would prefer if they put the turn signal stocks back in this car, I'll have to say. But right here with the steering wheel nice and straight, the turn signals do make a lot of sense. But trying to change lanes while your steering wheel is already turned is actually quite difficult. I'd like to say a big thanks to Tesla for letting me test drive this Model X today. We're here at the ODAS Park. We're at the Orillia Electric Vehicle Show. Now, I saw this on Facebook. I know it probably wasn't very well presented. I believe there's going to be another one of these shows in September, so come check it out. They have a whole bunch of electric cars that you can drive. Now let's try this out here. I have the turn signal on and I want to change directions, but I can't because the turn signal is on the other way. Okay, that concludes my test drive. My biggest takeaway from this is the car is excellent. The only thing I really don't like about it is the turn signals and the fact that these rear seats will not stop creaking. Outside of that, the car is an excellent vehicle for getting around. Now let's try this out. I'm putting it in reverse. Okay, that does work. It gets pretty intuitive. I don't like how these mirrors fold down. I'm sure you can change that in the menu. There we go. And to put it in park, you just press the top of the screen here. That brings us to the conclusion of this video on the Tesla Model X. This was just a short test drive at the Odas Park EV show in Orillia, Ontario. Check it out next year when it comes back to the roller rink at Odas Park. It's actually pretty cool. Plug and drive is there. You get to test drive all these different vehicles, including the Tesla Model X. VinFast was there. It's actually pretty neat. So next time we get the Model X out, I'd like to know, please leave something down in the comments. Let me know, what do you want to cover? Do you want to do the back seat test? What kind of information do you want on the Model X? And if this video helped you out at all, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.